Alan, welcome to the Pulse.
Thank you, Marcel.
First question is, you're so young, you look about 22, so let's address that elephant in the room first and foremost. How old are you?
I'm 712, but I've been
Okay.
taking NMN for a lot. No, I'm not really. I am 31.
Okay, and that's usually not a very appropriate question in any time to ask a man or a woman for the first. But since the name of the company is Do Not Age, I think it's a valid question, and we're talking about anti-aging stuff, and people have seen my before and after pictures and pretty much know that I'm 56, and it's interesting to know. So the fact that you're 31 shouldn't be worrying about aging yet. What brought you into this field?
So a few things really, but a misspent youth because I didn't treat my body very well, and I started to notice, some negative signs. Um, Thankfully, most of those gone away now. But also, we all have loved ones that are older, whether it's family, friends, and you start to see them deteriorate. So when I realized that the longevity research field even existed, I dove straight into it.
How did you find out that the longevity field existed? Because what year was this? You're 31.
So
You're 31 now, so you got into this. You were even younger. So this is.
it
I
was
find this really interesting. Sorry.
it would be maybe the end of 2018, start of 2019, around there.
Wow. So lots
Yeah.
happened in 2-3
A
years.
lot has happened. One of the things about this field is it's very, very fast moving. And when obviously I speak to researchers in the field, they tell me that it hasn't always been this way. It's only been the last few years that the curve has really started to get steep, which is great because the faster moving it is, the sooner we hit the end goal of, ending aging as we know it.
Do you think artificial intelligence is already starting to play a big role with this and speeding things up?
Yes, I do, but it's also a case of funding.
Okay, so the
So
funding is accelerated.
once the people with the money realized that this is possible, because for a very long time it was thought that aging was just something that happens, nothing you can do about it, just get on with it. But now we realize that doesn't have to be the case. And then once the people with the money realized that, they said, right, let's back some of these horses. And so the more money coming in to longevity research means the faster that we get good outcomes.
And then your company dedicates the majority of your profits to research as well.
Yeah, so the way we see ourselves is the bridge between the researchers and the scientists. You mentioned Dr. Sinclair, Professor Gorbinova is obviously on our board, and the consumer products. So we like to see it as a loop. So we create high quality consumer products that have a great benefit to people's lives. People pay us for those products. We use that money to fund research, and then it comes back around, and we can then create a new product from that research.
What is the role of Vera Gorbinova, who you mentioned?
Yeah, so I'll just touch on the advisory board as a whole to begin with, if
Sure.
that's okay. So we have currently 3 members of the advisory board. Dr. Madanat, who is from the Middle East, is an MD for obvious reasons. We have Nick Engerer, who is a longevity enthusiast. He writes about longevity. He has a PhD as well. And then there's Professor Gorbinova, who is going to be the most well-known of the 3. And in terms of the science, is the one that we lean on the most, and we get the most advice from. And of course, now we work very well together as well. So a good example of the recycling loop I was telling you about is the Sirt6 Activator. So that's a product that we've created from the ground up alongside Professor Gorbinova. And I don't know how much your viewers will know about it, but it's basically a type of seaweed that activates Sirt2 and 6. So if you know resveratrol activates Sirt2 and 1, Sirt6 Activator obviously activates Sirt2 and 6, which is seen to have a big impact. So already, even though we're a very young company, 2 years old, we are having that full circle impact by having a product to market, and that product's already having a profound effect on many, many people that that have taken it, which is great.
So I'm taking resveratrol, NMN, some vitamins, D, C, B12, with my food, and then I'm going to start quercetin. Am I pronouncing that name right?
Yeah.
Quercetin. And would the Sirt6, the Sirt Activator, is that what you called it? What the
Sirt6 Activator.
Sirt6 Activator. It's so James Bond. The it's like a secret weapon that was formed in the lab for James Bond to use. You take your Sirt6 Activator and you blow a hole through the wall. So combining of these things is causing me some questions. As a person that's very sensitive, as my viewers know from my other videos, I'm really hypersensitive to things due to allergies, lots of plant allergies, dust mites, weeds, everything. What does it mean to people, regular people and then people like me, hypersensitive, taking multiple things? Is this a complement to resveratrol if you're taking NMN, the Sirt6 Activator? So it's going to help even more, or?
Yeah, definitely. So every time we add a product into the protocol, we make sure of the synergy there, because the way we like to explain it is that the sum is greater than the parts. So if you had one person taking NMN, one person taking resveratrol, and one person taking Sirt6 Activator, their combined benefits wouldn't be as much as the one person that's taking all three.
Interesting.
Obviously, that's a very simplified version, but hopefully you understand where I'm coming from.
And I want to hear more about Vera and your connection to her. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I know you said basically what her role is and what she does, but how did you guys meet, and how exactly do you interact beyond just the products? How does that help the synergy of what you guys do versus maybe most other companies? I guess is a fair question to ask.
So I think, Vera, you'll notice that Vera isn't, involved with many other organizations beyond the research world. And we met through the field. The field's still not very big, even though it's huge compared to where it was 2 years ago. It's still small in real terms. And so that's how we met. And the reason she wanted to join DoNotAge is because of the mission. So I don't know if your viewers know, but the mission is to extend healthy lifespan for as many people as possible. And that's why, 2 parts to that: extend healthy lifespan, what we talked about earlier with products, with the information that we send out about exercise, diet, sleep, etc. And then for as many people as possible, that's why we try and keep the cost down. So I don't know if somebody like yourself that's quite new to NMN would know, but not so long ago, 100-gram bag of NMN was $300 and something before we came to the market. We've now put the price to $145, and as soon as we can, we will drop that again. As soon as we can get the price down, we will, as long as we can keep the purity and quality intact. So that is the reason that Vera wanted to join us, because we're mission driven instead of profit driven, if that makes sense.
And so her main role then is to test the things that you come up with, or to actually help co-create the things that you come up with.
Yes, exactly. So there's a mixture of the two. And also, we ask her regularly about all sorts of other different things as well, and ask for her opinion on scientific papers and certain products. And, we might be testing a product in 10 or 20 people, and maybe the results are good, but then we speak to Vera and she says, but be careful because of this. So it gives us another aspect. Yeah. And as I said, it gives us another view. It gives us a very, very well-respected view. Vera is obviously the iconic lady behind a lot of what we know about hyaluronic acid. Again, I don't know if anyone has seen a TED Talk, but if you go on our hyaluronic acid page, you can watch it there.
And you guys have a lot of products now. It's not an all-inclusive list of all the things people need to do, but if people took pretty much all your products, they're going to be fine. There's no safety issues there that you're or aware of any.
I don't think I look too bad.
And you take them all.
Yes, I do. In fact,
do you alternate days? Because I don't take TMG every day. I take it every
No,
other
no,
day.
I take TMG every day
Every day.
because
What?
I take quite a high dose of NMN, so I take TMG every day.
Okay. And there's some science claims out there, scientific claims out there that you don't need TMG if you're taking NMN. You only need it if you take NR, which is really silly to me because Sinclair says the body turns NR into NMN. So why would you need TMG for NR but not for NMN?
Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet.
Well, that's what we're
But
here to
yeah,
straighten out. All of it. We're going to fix it all today.
in answer to your question, I'm actually also taking 2 new products that aren't out yet, just because we're finalizing the human trials on them. So.
And you feel great, and you.
Yes,
when I switched to like your resveratrol and your TMG, like there was this. I understood the impurity discussion. Suddenly, the light bulb went off for me. I'm a little slow, forgive me. And then, because I had resveratrol, I was still taking for a couple of years from a source at Amazon, which was doing great for me. Like a lot of the improvements that I made, you saw my before and after pictures. That's kind of like got my channel off the ground, showing that thumbnail. But it was real, and a lot of it was just from resveratrol. Just taking resveratrol was a big deal for me. The NMN took me to some place I never expected. In last week's video, I talked more about some of these other things, and you and I in our pre-call talked a little bit about some of these other things that are benefits. It's hard for you to have the perspective of me feeling things that I haven't felt when I was 18, because you were 18 so recently. I was 18 40 years ago almost. But, just NMN, resveratrol, after 2 months back on NMN, sensitivity to hot and cold, going outside without a jacket, when I would always take a jacket, even if it was 65, 60, I'd reached an age where anyone my age or older put a jacket on, and I'm standing there with no jacket for like a half hour at my son's soccer practice, looking around, and everyone's got a jacket on. The young coaches have pretty thick jackets on. It's like 60, which in Germany, people put a jacket on at 60 because they don't want to get sick. So not only did I not get sick, but I wore a short sleeve shirt the whole time and loved it. Like I felt good. And I couldn't believe it. I was kind of like, man, it feels nice out here. Or taking a bike ride and it just like feeling like more than just a ride that I'm taking so my wife will be pleased with me. Like I was enjoying it. And going for a jog, like, impromptu, like unplanned, just start off jogging.
That's a huge part of it, is enjoying it. Obviously, there's, we get a myriad of things reported back to us in joints, mobility, eyesight improvement, anxiety, better sleep, and this is for not just NMN, this is obviously the whole range, but, people that were diabetic, no longer having problems.
I was.
But the thing that I find most amazing is when you speak to people who just say, my well-being is just so much better.
Well,
like you said, the word enjoying. I'm enjoying my life so much more.
Yeah, we're doing you
or watch the soccer game, and it's just 10 times better because you can enjoy it because your body feels good.
We're doing you a disservice by talking so much about energy and focus, which are the first 2 things you notice. But as I'm on it longer, I'm noticing other things that are just flat out weird that I forgot. Like I forgot how nice it was to take a jog. I got to go back to 18 years old because I never liked running. Like I joined the Air Force, and they make you run, and then when you're doing it on your own, it's fun. When they're making you do it, it's not fun. So now I'm finding myself wanting to do this stuff and spending more time with my kids where I'm just like present. And so it's weird, this stuff. And I've been telling people like this isn't just like gonna make you have more energy. You're gonna start feeling like yourself again. A remarkable.
So have you had comments from people that have already started taking the products then yourself?
Exactly. Yeah. So I've had a lot of positive support and people thanking me, but then I've already had people like an 80-year-old man. This guy's gave this stuff to his father who hasn't walked in 18 months since COVID kicked off. He was afraid to go outside, so he didn't want to get sick, and then he just became immobile. And he couldn't go for walks. And he started September 1st. So this is fresh stuff, right? This last month. He started taking NMN, resveratrol, TMG. And he took it for 13 days, and he went for his first walk in over a year and a half. And then he did a double session that day on a stationary bike.
There you go.
Then I had a 67-year-old guy just write a few days ago that he had a surgery and he has not had any energy and has felt really crappy ever since this serious surgery that he had. And he stumbled across my video and started taking the stack, the small stack, because it's not as big as your stack, which we should talk more about too. And then he said, the first day, he said, I felt like I got shot out of a cannon, which is like, and then the second day he posted again, he's like, I couldn't believe it because I really was skeptical. And so it's really cool I get goosebumps getting these stories because it's, being able to pass on what helped me and see it help other people that are even older than me feels great. It's exciting.
You can see how me and my team get our motivation now because
I thought you guys I thought we were boomers and you just wanted us to get out of the way so you could have the world.
No, not at all. It's amazing. We're all just humans, aren't we? But when the younger ones tend to, people around my age tend to see smaller differences because we're going for the prevention side of things.
Okay.
But and this is a generalization, of course, but some of the older ones, it's, they'll call you and scream and say, I wish I could give you a hug and a kiss and all this. You've done this. I've not been able to, lift these weights for 20 years. I've not been able to run around with my granddaughter for X amount of years. And that's what really helps to keep you going because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is. It's bringing the generations together. I do find myself doing things that younger people are doing, whether it's tennis or, played. A couple of weeks ago, I played with my men's 40s team. 3 years ago, I couldn't play. 2 years ago, I started playing with the 50s. I was losing all my matches. This summer, I got to play with the men's 40-year-olds. So I'm seeing like tangible results that they would even let me go out and play with them because they have a really good team, that they'd even let me go out and play with them and have confidence to have me out there. Somebody went down, and they needed somebody else. And that was my opening to go play, but I did great. And I stood in valiantly. I represented my age group well with the younger men. So it is very exciting. So you guys, speaking of working out, let's segue there. So I made one video about taking NMN and resveratrol and another one about combining exercise with NMN and resveratrol. Guess which video got the most views? It was like 100,000 people watched the one just about taking the two things, and only 3,000 people or less watched the one that mentioned exercise. So
that sounds about right.
Let's address that 800-pound gorilla in the room here. Do people are taking this stuff and they're having this energy? Doesn't it make sense to go out and exercise? And you exercise. Can we talk a little bit about the importance of that and how it enhances the benefits or really fulfills what it's all about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like if you don't exercise and you take the supplements, they won't have any difference. But I would say it's a bit silly to not do the free stuff, and the mobility of your body is very, very important as you get older. Retaining muscle mass, fighting off sarcopenia, it's really, really important. Like, obviously, as part of my role, I have to look at the data and see these things. And it's so, so, so important. Like, you can boost your NAD levels to the moon, but if you don't have that muscle mass and you're not looking after your body properly in terms of movement, there's no point. So I would strongly advise that everybody make sure they're exercising, getting their diet right, getting their sleep right. Sleep is huge. We spend like a third of our lives sleeping. We should focus on that.
Things that I've done and that I find important that I suggest for other people is reducing. I live in Germany. The chances of me stop drinking beer or wine completely, and I live in a wine region of Germany. I can walk down the street. There are 30 vineyards in my town, and I'm in a small town. We're completely surrounded by vineyards where I live, plus German beer traditions. So I can walk down and ring a bell and buy the bottles right from the home of the tiny vineyard. So that's the town I live in. So the chances of me giving all that up, it's like I might as well not even live here. But I have reduced it because I know you sleep better when you don't drink alcohol. But your stuff, I noticed this, and then we talked a little bit about this in the pre-call. But I don't feel the effects the day after of having. If I do go on a little binge and have two, 3 extra beers, I don't feel bad the next day. What's going on with that, sir?
I honestly think it would be irresponsible of me to answer that honestly, because I don't want to promote.
No,
too much
I don't
drinking.
recommend it. I just think it is kind of funny. And
If
actually,
you,
I am actually drinking less so that I'll get more of that sleep you were talking about, that deep REM sleep. But
NAD boosters are, for me at least, very good hangover cure, for want of a better word. But that doesn't mean I want everybody to go out and get smashed and then
but
just
it's
take a
like
load.
for someone like me that that does. I do drink responsibly. Maybe I didn't always, but I do now. But once a month, I'm good for a blowout. I'm good for a
Yeah.
blow. It's nice to know the next day I'm not going to be a complete wreck. Is it strengthening? I believe it's strengthening. I know it's strengthened my liver. Let me just go there because I had the blood tests after I started taking NMN the first time, before I got out of the fake thing, which is all in my first video, and then got back to the real NMN, lab tested here locally. But my liver enzymes got better. So is that the NMN resveratrol? Is that the NAD levels? How does that work? Or do you know anything?
It's difficult to know, but obviously TMG is has liver protective capabilities, so
Okay.
that might also be playing a key role as well. I think in terms of
But I
value
had
for
a
money,
fatty liver. Now, maybe
yeah,
it was the weight loss that.
you know what the most likely answer is? It's going to be a combination of all
I
of them.
see. I see.
Unfortunately, although I'd love it to be a more simple answer, but
No, I don't feel beat up. Like I don't feel it, the way that I did before when I would really pay a price. And I'm not promoting people going crazy and use it as a hangover. I think the people who are really interested in this, that may be somewhere on the spectrum of their interest, but I don't think it's the driving motivator. I think people are suffering, as I did, from the effects of aging, and they're looking for something to do, something to solve this. Diet. Now, I've heard, I mentioned also in my video from last week, and I'll post a link to that here for people that want to check that out. I recently changed my diet. I've also heard about Stephen Gundry, the author of The Plant Paradox.
yeah,
And his recommended diet, which can be pretty severe at first, but basically he says no more sugars, no more processed foods, avoid a lot of the starches, but some of them are great. Eggs are great. We've gone the whole, according to him, eggs are great for you. Almost every day you can eat them, which is like a whole revelation for me, because first it was like no eggs. No, now you can't eat the yolks. Wait a minute, now you can eat the whole egg. And we have great, fresh, local, free range. You can go visit the chickens here when the towns we live in. It's right outside our town. Yeah. So, of course we want to eat these fresh, wonderful eggs. But yeah, so I completely changed my diet. How important from your perspective, working with the scientists, practicing a healthy diet, as well as the working out, as well as the better sleep habits? Let's address that diet part of it a little bit.
it is an important issue, but with diet, it's one that we really, really don't know what the best diet is. What it's starting to look like to me, in my small brain, is that there might not be a perfect diet. There might be different perfect diets for different types of people.
And Dr. Gundry talks about that as well, and how certain plants, there's a lot of overlap between David Sinclair's comments about what to eat, which is more vegetables. He also isn't so stringent, is saying no meats, and neither is Dr. Gundry. But Dr. Gundry sort of says some plants agree with some people and some people don't, hence the book, The Plant Paradox. Yeah. So I wanted to at least touch upon that because you also talk to a lot of people. I found it extremely helpful to wipe out this brain fog, that even after I started taking NMN resveratrol, I was getting this, and he specifically calls it brain fog. And I wasn't even calling it that. I was just like blurriness, or I thought it was my eyes. I thought it was related to diabetic stuff I went through. But I did adjust my diet pretty severely, got rid of sugar, got rid of processed foods, intermittent fasting. So I don't eat till 11, and I know David Sinclair talks about this a lot because he actually says fasting would be his number. If you didn't do anything else, fasting would be his number one.
Yeah, I think that's because of the amount of proof around caloric restriction and the fact that it's easy and free for everybody to do, and the fact that it's starting to look more like when you eat is more important than what you eat. But I think in terms of the original question, diet, the best answer we have at the moment is something similar to the Mediterranean diet, because that's a similar thing to what we see in the blue zones, obviously, where we have lots of centenarians, etc.
So more yogurts, olive oils, vegetables,
Yeah, a
leafy
lot of fresh olive
vegetables.
oil. So that's
Yeah,
not cooked olive oil. That's as in putting the olive oil on your salad or whatever it may
right.
be. Um,
Virgin olive
and
oil. Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe if you're going to eat meat, make it fish. That's what
Get
it's
your
looking
omega
like.
3s. I wanted to put you on the spot simply because you have such a breadth of knowledge of working and talking with people who have, and I just believe it's super important because, like, what I said in my last video, what I didn't talk about today was that the brain fog cleared,
Mm.
and the biggest thing I changed right there was the diet, the sleep, and the time of the eating.
It's important to note as well, though, all these people that I speak to and myself as well, nobody sticks to these diets 100% and eats clean
Well,
all
yeah,
day, every day.
yeah.
If you want to have a burger every now and then, rarely,
All right, I'm gonna go have one. I'll be right back.
don't,
There's a
don't hold
McDonald's
back,
down the street. No, I can
because
be tempted.
what I don't want this to come across
Right.
as is like preaching, saying here's what you must do, otherwise you're gonna have an early death, because your life's also got to be worth living, right?
I'm a little concerned that people are going to run out, start taking supplements, and not. I guess my sense of responsibility in this partnership between passing on the knowledge and having landed in this situation just by chance is to say, wait a minute. What about these other things? Drink a little less, eat better, get a good night's sleep, and
Yep.
exercise more. And it's just gonna
Here's a big
enhance.
one.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
a big
yeah.
one.
Yeah. Well, I can see your water and
Drink,
raise you.
drink more water, and that's something that I've not been doing the last, like, maybe a couple of weeks ago. So this week, I've been really pushing myself. I buy 3 of these big ones, and I say, right, before you go home tonight, these need to be gone.
Well, we got to talk a couple other important areas. I've probably rambled about a lot of stuff, but I hope people appreciate some of this stuff because it's really just, an organic conversation. This whole thing has been so organic for both of us. How do you decide which supplements to sell?
Lots of different factors. It's not an easy process. And recently, because obviously the size of our community, many tens of thousands, we've now got another aspect, which is listening to the community, listening to our members. Obviously, we don't always go on what they say because some of the things we don't believe in. But
This week, DoNotAge just started selling NR. So you've sold another NAD booster. Now you're offering an alternative. So we'll use that as a case example. I didn't mean to stop you, but
no, that's okay. I think
you're
so.
selling NR when NMN, there's an NMN crowd of scientists, there's an NR crowd of scientists, and sometimes they've sort of been sent to their own quarters and they are kind of lobbing comments back and forth at each other on they both boost NAD levels. So David Sinclair says, I'm not picking anybody aside. And I certainly don't pick a side. I have very good friends taking NR and feel great. They message me almost daily, some of them, how great they feel. So I'm not picking a side either. I did pick NMN, but you're selling NR. So yes, please do. So I didn't mean to stop you, but please do tell us why.
Yeah, I'll finish what I was gonna say. There's obviously we look at the research, then we speak to advisors, speak to other people if we need to. There are other people that we speak to as well, other professors and researchers that aren't on our advisory board. And then obviously it goes into trials. We always have some products being trialed in willing guinea pig humans at some stage. So we've got, the spermidine and the sleep products have already gone through that. They'll be coming out soon. We've got urolithin A. There's a lot of things we are working on at the moment, but the nicotinamide riboside was one that came from the community, because although it's only a small percentage, that small percentage for us is now many thousands of people. And they would say, look, the most common one was, I get everything from you except the NMN because I want to take NR because there's more human data on it. Fine, that's their opinion, no problem. there's already a good brand of NR out there, which is Chromadex, and the only problem with it is it's a little bit expensive. So then we started replying and digging a bit deeper with these members, and we found out that almost none of them were taking that product. They were buying some anonymous thing that was calling itself NR from, you know, one of the online marketplaces.
Oh man, so the same thing I went through. Again,
Yeah,
in my first big video.
Exactly.
I got faked out for 7 months, which is what led me to this whole. Oh my God! So there's fake NR out there too. It's not just NMN.
Oh yeah, they'll fake anything.
What's
they
in
can.
these fakes? Have anybody tested what's in some of these fakes?
So oftentimes it'll be caffeine or a caffeine substitute, because that way when you take it, you feel more alert. You feel like you have more energy, and you go, "Oh, this stuff's great. This NR stuff's amazing." But it's not actually really NR.
Oh my gosh! So we're doing a disservice to you by talking about energy boost, but we're giving a disservice to people who end up buying fake stuff because they're taking Pro Plus type product or something. They're getting caffeinated and thinking it's NMN.
Exactly. So because of how obviously the members feel about our brand, they said, "Look, if you did NR, we would get it from you." And then obviously now, if it was just they were buying it from somewhere else that was more expensive but legitimate, we wouldn't have a problem with that. But because we found out that people weren't taking the real deal,
the majority of NR people you talk to,
we're
not taking the legitimate.
Exactly, because it's so much cheaper, so they go for the cheaper option, and that's not always the best way. So we are bringing in a well-priced NR product, which is now available on the website, and we've already had the questions: is it better than NMN? Is NMN better? Can you take them together? Do you need both? The answer is nobody really knows, but I don't think you need. My personal opinion is I don't think you need both. I'm going to continue with my NMN. If you're an NR person, now you have an option available to you, and I am exactly the same as many leading scientists. I'm on the fence. We don't know for sure which one is best. We all have our inklings. Obviously, we have some human data that's, you know, test the NAD level, give them some product, test the NAD level. But for sure, we don't know.
If in your data, is NMN slightly more compelling? Because that's what I'm hearing from David Sinclair.
Yes, but again, there's a big argument about this because we're testing.
But you're selling both now, so we're not picking a side. But I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I think it's fair to address that the science that at least we're exposed to, because there are other people with different science and saying some of their own things, but NMN slightly more maybe compelling scientifically, but it's a newer molecule. That's fair to say. I'm trying to give this a little overview.
From what it looks like, from the small data set we have, it is a more efficient NAD booster, but we're only testing the blood, and so there's a big argument about would it be different in tissue. So that's all I can say from what we've done.
We cut away for a second because I had a little technical feed. Now my video feed is back. So back on topic here. What I want to ask about, okay, so we talked about it not just being an energy boost. So to wrap that up, energy focus, but it's a well-being kind of improvement. Cellular, the NAD gets into your cells. Is that correct?
The way I would describe it is it's an upstream intervention. So boosting your NAD levels has lots of beneficial impacts downstream.
Beyond just energy and focus, but I talked about the sensitivity to hot and cold improving and stuff. You're hearing 100%. Those kinds of things from other people.
100%.
Amazing. Yeah, you do feel. I feel more like myself, the guy I knew for years and years, that was sort of vanishing, both in the mirror. That guy's back in the mirror pretty much, a little different version, like, in a strange way. My funny story is my before pictures looked like my dad. My after pictures look like a younger version of my dad. So I don't look like me necessarily when I was younger. I look like him when he was younger. I don't know how that worked out. The future of medicine. So right now we have this reality. We have physicians and we have pharmaceuticals.
Yep.
And they're sort of like one and the same. So I feel like, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but that's kind of the reality we live in. You go to a doctor, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to leave without a prescription. Like, I bet you there's data out there somewhere. Everybody that has some kind of ailment, you go to a doctor, you're not leaving with a note to go to your to DoNotAge and order a supplement. They're not.
Well, that's not strictly true, actually. So it is generally younger doctors, but I mean, when did I speak to that guy? About a month ago now, I spoke to a doctor who's in his 70s, still practicing, and if he believes that someone will benefit from it, because he takes our products, if he believes someone will benefit from taking our products, he says, look, you haven't got anything actually wrong with you. What's happening is aging. Here's the one I use, sort of thing. And
Are there a lot of people in the science community coming to you? Like scientists, like biochemists, and because I saw a list from another supplier. And I was there. I'm not allowed to share the list. I was shown the list to sort of show me what's going on behind the scenes.
I wouldn't be able to give names out.
No, I don't want names, but
reasons.
But
yeah, I mean,
you're seeing it too.
It's I would say at least weekly.
So the more knowledgeable people, from the scientific realm, not related to anti-aging, just like biochemists, because the chemist I went to knew about NMN, and he felt it was very promising. Like the guy I went to do the test knew about it, could tell me what it tasted like. Like he knew a lot more. Like maybe he was taking it for all I knew because he knew a lot about it. And so when he did the test,
what I tend to find in that kind of field is there's a lot more people taking it than will let on.
Right.
Whereas a lay person, if you like doesn't mind saying, yeah, I take this stuff. Whereas the people in, scientists, biochemists will be more hesitant.
I saw a list. These are multiple patent holders. These were heavy hitters in that field that were taking NMN and resveratrol, and I thought it was really really fascinating, interesting, and telling, and kind of makes sense when you think about it. When you think about the level of research of Vera at Rochester University and the things that she's doing there, and then you look at Time Magazine's one of the most influential people. He made the list. David Sinclair has made that list and been interviewed by Popular Mechanics and on and on and on. There's a lot of credibility, as you said, and now money and now investment flowing into this. So very fascinating. So I think in 20 years we're going to look back and we're going to think we were in the Middle Ages, because we were just playing this whack-a-mole medicine, as David has said. And I do think we need to treat holistic. I mean, I'm evidence of that. Like, how can I account for no longer having liver enzymes elevated, no longer having blood sugar issues, no longer having anxiety attacks that were sending me to the ER off and on for 23 years, losing 40 pounds when I wasn't able to do it before, just the visual effects that I had. How else can I justify? This is not one thing. Gout went away in my toe, for crying out loud, Alan. I want to talk about...
That's a new one. That's one I've not heard before.
It went away, not 100%. I wish maybe I need to raise my amount of NMN from my measly 500 milligrams a day. Maybe it'll go away the rest of the way. But it did go away about 90%. I mean, I'm able to move my toe around now and do stuff. People who suffer from this are going, oh my God, because nobody talks about gout. It's a terrible word. It's a terrible word,
isn't it?
It's an acid issue in the toe. I forget the name of the uric acid. Thank you. Build up in your toe, and it causes this pain. And basically, you can lose the function. It can get really bad if you don't treat it. And I never treated it per se, other than I noticed on the supplements, just almost went away completely, to the point where it's way easier to run and walk and all that stuff. Future of supplements. So we're talking about NR and NMN. These are NAD boosters. I've heard about the super boosters, that there's some new things on the horizon. Are you guys involved in some of that research, or do you obviously have your
Um,
ear to the ground? I see you smiling, but
yeah, it's being worked on. It's being worked on. I think the best advice I can give now is sign up to our email list if anybody's interested in finding out. Because obviously, as soon as we can say something, as soon as we're allowed to, we will shout from the rooftops.
I mean, there's going to be people like me that are going to stick with the regimen that's working. I'm not going to make any changes. I'll let other people be the guinea pigs.
Yeah,
But as I say to people, you have a risk reward. You weigh the risk reward based on your own situation. My life 2-3 years ago was rough, as I mentioned some of my ailments, and I was reaching a point where I was ready to try some things. So, and I think, and a lot of people are, like just hundreds of people that I've run across, and you guys deal with hundreds, if not thousands, every day, right? I mean, the numbers are staggering.
and it's easy, very easy to stay motivated. Very easy to stay motivated when you hear all these stories because each one isn't just. I mean, it's amazing that person, but then the knock-on effect that has on their entire family, like they become a nicer person, they become a better person. They can, they can do more for other people as well as themselves, as well as feeling better inside themselves. So each one of those usually affects a couple dozen other people and lifts them as well. And it's a win-win. So it's really easy to get up for work in the morning.
Well, my disclaimer here at the end is we're not recommending this, suggesting this to anybody. This is something you can do on your own cognizance, your own advice, and talk to your doctors. If I would talk to your doctors about any plan that you're taking. A lot of them are now certainly aware of supplements. I've never had a doctor tell me don't take supplements. I had so many problems with allergies. Some of them were telling me try some. I don't know which ones. You're going to have to try them yourself, to kind of weed your way through some of that. But fortunately, it's helped me a lot. But if you are suffering, at least for me, there was help out there. And, if you're up for it, why not give it a shot? Alan at DoNotAge is there they have great customer service. They're there to help if you do so decide. But in the meantime, thanks for all the great insights and information. Hope we could chat again when new developments come up.
Well, interviews aren't really my thing, so I apologize if I was stuttering and stammering, but thank you very much for your time,
In the
Marcel.
comments, tell him how great he was. Tell him in the comments.
Oh,
Tell him what
God,
a great
please
job
don't.
he did, because I don't think he realizes. I mean, just being forthright and just giving us the skinny on this stuff is helpful. That's what people want. They just want to know, fill in some gaps. We can go and hear from a scientist, but that doesn't give us. You've talked to a lot of people taking the supplements. You have a different vantage point than anyone.
What we try and do is translate the science and make it accessible for everyone. That's what we're trying to do.
Tell me about your subscription plan, because cost comes up a lot. And just as our final kind of topic here, I'm glad I remembered this, because cost is a barrier for a lot of people. And then I sort of say, well, take a look at their subscription plan, but you have to fill in some questions. Can you tell some people how that works?
Yeah, sure. So it's a completely customized annual subscription. So the reason we did that is because not everybody wants to take a gram of NMN a day. That's just one example. So for example, now I found the perfect amount for me is 2 grams a day. You may be different. Some people take 1.5. Some, not many, but some take 2.5. Most people are on 1, mainly probably because that's the most common option. But so what happens is you go through the questions on the website and it will say how much of this do you want, and there's a slider and you can choose. And then for NMN and resveratrol, you can also choose whether you want capsules or powder. And what that means is you don't ever have to worry again about, I need to buy those. Are those out of stock? Is this happening? All these kind of things. And how much is the shipping and all this stuff? It's all sorted on your subscription. So you'll receive everything you need for the next 12 months in your first shipment. And then provided you're happy to carry on with everything in 12 months' time, you'll receive it again. Or you can add on to it, or you can cancel it anytime, obviously.
When they go that route, do they save over just buying things?
Yep. So it's
individually?
anywhere from around 20% to 40%, depending on the products.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to know. So that's one big advantage. You can customize it to your own uses and get exactly what you want, not have to worry about running out, and you save a pretty significant amount of money. And they can still use my code, the Pulse, on that subscription, so they could save another 10%.
When they renew, that code will stay with it, so they'll always have that 10% off. I think that the reason that we are trying to make the subscription as attractive as possible is because what we see is the longer people are on these regimes, the better the results. So it's one of those things, you know.
Because we talked about the guy who felt like he was shot out of a cannon, but you also said in our
some people don't feel anything for 6 months.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. You may not feel like you're shot out of a cannon on day one. It may, or is it 6 months before the results happen, or before they actually notice the results? I mean, that's
the thing. And some people just have a slower curve. Maybe they're not doing other things, because lifestyle obviously affects it as well. So maybe they're not doing other things the way they should be. There's, as always, a myriad of factors that come into it.
I think there's a lot of 60-year-olds that feel pretty good and try. I know there are, because they've told me, but they go and try the program because they see people around them dropping like flies and falling apart and getting hurt and breaking hips, and they're like, what the heck? Maybe I'll try this just to prevent some of the stuff. So they're like you, but older versions of where the state that you're in, where you're just like preventing.
Yeah, and prevention is always better than cure. I mean, my friends think I'm insane because I take lots of supplements and do various things for my health, and I'm in my early 30s, but they won't think I'm insane.
This is like the bonus content. You know, we already signed off, and now you're getting the bonus content. But there's some really good stuff now that I almost forgot. What is the okay? I promise. Last question. What is the difference when you went from 1 gram to 2 of NMN? I'm really dying to know this.
So, if I'm completely honest, it wasn't as much of it wasn't as different as from when I went from 0 to 1.
Okay.
Because that was a huge change. And I also didn't go from 1 to 2. I went from 1 to 1.5, and then from 1.5 to 2.
Okay.
And I'm testing my NAD levels at various points.
I see. That's the magic trick. And you guys have an NAD tester.
Yeah, that's right. So we were the first organization to make available for consumers anywhere in the world to test their NAD levels from home. It's a very, very simple pinprick on your finger, and then it's a blood spot onto a piece of paper. We include some liquid. You put the liquid over the blood spot, and that actually dries it and keeps it so that the blood saves, so that when it gets back to the lab, they then put some liquid on that livens the blood again, and they can test your NAD levels as if they were just taking that blood from your finger.
Wow. And how soon do they get the results back to you?
It depends, because obviously if you're in Australia, for example, it's going to take longer for the shipment of the blood spot paper to come back to us. But it's usually you're looking around the 3-week mark.
And you announced another new product, which is a BioAge tester, right?
Yes, that's right. So we used to have that in the past. We've now managed to bring the price down and increase what is offered. So it's not just a biological age test. It shows a myriad of things. But
how many different biomarkers are included?
I mean, you would have to look at the app, because it's a lot. It's a lot of information that you get. And it's not just about number of biomarkers to test the biological age. It's also about the information you then get. So our previous one just gave you an age, and this one gives you the age and then a load of other information underneath it.
So like blood test results that you'd get from a doctor typically, or?
Yeah, and wow. I mean, it's a lot of information. I think
is it listed on that product page for the
Yeah, the best thing for people to do is have a look at the product page on the website, because it's all listed out there, and it's very in depth, and we've managed to bring the price right down as well.
Well, great. I'm going to make sure that people don't sign off early, so they check out the bonus content at the end of this video, 'cause there's a lot of good stuff that I should have asked sooner. If you guys have questions, you know, if there's something that I feel like really specific that I can't answer myself, I'll certainly pass it on to Alan, if that's cool, in the comments. I want to make sure that people keep commenting and keep giving us your feedback, your information. Last time I had a lot of great comments just bringing up some of this other stuff that I brought up today, like diet and exercise, because these are things that other people had brought up, as well. And I know if you just do this, if you just do that, I'm not devaluing any of those other things you should be doing. Get a great night's sleep, and I certainly am motivating people to do these things, but getting them on a good supplement plan has made a much bigger difference for me than exercise and diet alone made. So just saying. Thanks again for all you do, for all your time. I look forward to hearing more and seeing more at DoNotAge. And have a good rest of your year, Alan.
Thanks, Marcel. Thanks, viewers. Take care.
Take care.